From time to time, we get so many iCave Answers questions from a single viewer that we decide to do a dedicated show. New member to the notification squad, Randomness R, is asking all the questions. But he's not the only new member of the notification squad. Also, Frank Patry and Don Bullock Tech Eye Hound have also joined, and you can too if you subscribe, ring the bell, and let me know #notification squad down in the comments for your shout out in the next video. Let's get into the questions. iCave Answers, any update on when we'll be getting the new Pro XDR display, and will it be bigger than 32 inches? I would love a 36 inch with a built-in speakers like the studio display. And actually, no, things have gone a lot quieter on the larger display. I think Ross Young is going to be our best bet in terms of having some kind of information on this one, but right now the one that seems to be imminent is the mini LED version at 27 inches. That I think will be Studio Display XDR, and then I think Pro Display XDR will be the bigger version as and when it arrives. Now, I don't see it going up to 36 inches now. I think 32 is probably about the right size, and bear in mind we've only had one version of this display, so it makes little sense to completely redesign it this quickly, I'd guess. Next up, when will you be starting your podcast? I need material to listen to when I'm working, so please start one. We used to put out the audio from these episodes as a podcast. I don't know if that's a thing that is going to be useful to anyone, but we can talk about that if that would help people, if it's a way that you can listen in the car when you're on a commute or something along those lines. But let me know what you would like to see on a podcast like that. Do you want me to have someone else on the show? Do you want it to be a solo show? Do you want it to be a recap of the week? Let me know in the comments. Next up, do you ever think that Apple will make an iPad mini with calling support, i.e. be able to put in your SIM card and use it as a phone? I don't, if I'm honest, I don't think that Apple would want to do that. I think we're already getting pretty huge in the phone department that doesn't fit in people's pockets. Does actually making physical, like, phone calls matter to you these days? I mean, for me, I'd much prefer to use FaceTime audio, much better sound quality, doesn't use minutes if you have a minutes limit on your phone. So for me, I don't think that that's actually an important thing anymore, and you can certainly do all of that stuff from an iPad mini. But no, I don't think we're ever going to get a SIM tray slot to do the whole use it as a phone thing. Probably not. Next up, Sam Cole really thinks we're going to get the new M2 MacBook Air at wwdc. What are your thoughts? I'm excited to see the 13.6 inch, and I'll pick one up for my son, and I'll keep waiting for the 15 inch Air. I've been saying for a long time that I think we'll be getting M2 at wwdc. I think it'll be the MacBook Air. It makes the most sense. I think we might also see something along the lines of a Mac Mini, but certainly this is going to be one of those events where I think we're going to be seeing some hardware as well as the Mac Pro, but probably M2s first and foremost. In all honesty, that's the one that people are going to buy. The Mac Pro is going to be great, and it's going to have these huge performance numbers, and it's probably going to sell 1,000, couple of thousand. It's not going to be huge. But yes, I think the MacBook Air 13.6 inches is going to be an absolute beast of a seller. I think it might go up slightly money-wise. We've talked about this in the last show, so make sure you head back and check that one out. But the 15-inch Air, that looks like it's going to be next year. That's my best guess at any rate. Next up, why doesn't Apple sell merchandise like hoodies and sweatpants? I feel like they could make smart clothing that would be heated and cooled using the iPhone. That would be awesome. Yeah, smart clothing would be pretty cool. I think it's something that Apple would probably take a look at as well. It seems like a disruption to an existing industry in the way that Apple does already. So like streaming boxes, the Apple TV was definitely one of the best sort of media center PCs to begin with, and then became a streaming box. I think the AirPods Max have probably opened people's eyes to the idea of high-end audio in ways that most people didn't really consider before. Anything above like your earpods.
Power laces, all right.
The iPhone was, of course, completely changed. And I think, yeah, clothing is one of those sort of aspects that everyone uses on a daily basis, in general. I'm not going to judge. But it's also ripe to be disrupted. There is plenty of room to do stuff that is interesting there, because right now, clothes are just clothes, and it's very little smart clothes.
This thing doesn't fit.
I'm adjusting fit.
You know, you can have the grey man look that's got kind of high-tech fabrics and that kind of tech wear style, but you know, we're not talking about smart devices, things that can heat and cool you and change their porosity Is porosity even a word? I don't know. But let me know in the comments about how porous it is, whether, you want it to be breathable when the weather's good, and, maybe use something along the lines of LCD crystals spinning to block light, but on a larger scale to kind of close up gaps and make something waterproof instead of breathable. That would be really interesting as well. That's the kind of thing that Apple might go, you know what, that's a really interesting field. I would love to see some of that. I'd also love to see some more branded stuff from Apple that you can buy at like all the Apple stores rather than just having to go to Cupertino. Next, when will Apple Watch fully replace our iPhones? I don't think they ever will. I'll be honest with you, that's not one of the routes that I see Apple going down. Few reasons. First one, we like to look at stuff that's kind of detailed. We like to enjoy watching TV or movies or YouTube videos. YouTube is a great place. You should watch more YouTube videos. But that being said, I think people do spend a lot of their time consuming content on their iPhone, and I don't think that would be as enjoyable on your watch. I think that's fair to say. It's also much more difficult to interact with when you need to interact with a device. It's also not a good place to have any kind of camera. Like, how would you take decent pictures with it? Like, even if they were to put a FaceTime camera on it that would be constantly looking up your nose, taking a picture of someone else is going to be an absolute nightmare. So no. Don't think it's going to happen. Next up, do you jailbreak your devices? Will there be a jailbreak for iOS 16? I stopped jailbreaking my devices after iOS 12, but I miss having crazy tweaks and themes. Well, I'm hoping that we're going to get that theme kit in iOS 16. I don't know if there will be a version of jailbreak because we haven't seen the software yet. It makes it very difficult. And Apple is always kind of trying to get one step ahead and avoid people jailbreaking their devices. Now, do I jailbreak? No. Have I ever jailbroken? Yes, but only on like a backup kind of sacrificial phone. Didn't find it particularly compelling. There wasn't anything I wanted to do on there that I couldn't do on my iPhone, so I just factory reset it, I think. Sorry if you wanted me to be more enthusiastic about jailbreaking, but I think it's kind of over. And next, why doesn't Apple allow files and things to be transferred over Thunderbolt 4 cable between devices? I would love to be able to connect my MacBook Pro to my wife's via Thunderbolt 4 to transfer stuff, to my son's iPad Pro to transfer movies and stuff. AirDrop takes forever, especially with HDR movies. So I would say, I think AirDrop is not as slow as you think, but actually physically moving the devices closer together will make them go a lot faster. This is something weird about AirDrop, is it's very heavily dependent, I think, on Bluetooth, which means if you are far away from the device within your household, a couple of feet will make a difference to transfer speed, so put them as close together as you can. Now, I do believe that Apple allows you to plug a Thunderbolt cable from one to another when you first set up a Mac and you're transferring your files and folders. I don't know why they don't afterwards, because obviously the capability is there, but perhaps it's more along the lines of a security thing. So yeah, if you're setting up a new device, then that's fine, but if you were just connecting to someone else's Mac to transfer a file, that could be a little bit sketch in terms of what they decide to send. So maybe it's a security thing. Next up, where does the Apple iPad Pro design go from here? Like, what could it be like? What could they make better about it? So I think we've talked in the past about the iPad Pro going to a full glass sandwich look in the style of the iPhone 4, which, here we go, just here. So with the iPhone 4 design, you did get your stainless steel frame through the middle, and then you got a glass back and a glass display, which both sits proud. I think we'd be looking probably closer to the iPhone 5 design, which is in line with what we have right now, but just replacing that back aluminium panel with potentially glass. Now, there has been talk that the back panel going to glass would be far too fragile because of the amount of wear and tear that you would get on an iPad, and obviously the larger that panel is, the more prone it's going to be to cracks, and if it gets dropped, to cracking. That's going to be the big issue. In terms of The design, I do think that that's kind of where it's going to be. I think that's along those lines at least, and giving the capability to use things like MagSafe. But we always say this, oh, this is probably the peak design, and then Apple will come out with something different. Now, there's no reason that the iPad Pro needs to be redesigned. I don't think it needs to be at all. It just needs to work, and it needs to get the next generation of chips, which will be M2, which may well be out around wwdc for the iPad as well. I don't think that they're going to be as precious about it this time. It should just be a pretty straight board swap to get from an M1 version to an M2 version, and that's not bad. So we're going to wrap this show up there, guys. Thank you, Randomness R, for all your questions. Thank you to the Notification Squad guys for being here, and thank you to the Patreons for helping to support the channel. Feel free to join them at iCaveDave.com/Patreon. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you in the next one.